What is good, everybody? Hello, hello. It is Wednesday. So over here, we call that Wisdom Wednesday. It's also Ask a Coach, in this case, Ask Juliana. I allow folks to email me questions and then I turn back around and answer them here. So the question that I got is, how can I restructure my time? I just feel like there's so many things that I have to do and that really I'm obligated to do. And I don't know how to say yes to things or even carve out some space for me. How do I take back my time? Okay, essentially is the question. So I'm going to cover this from a few angles, as you can see from the title, energetic smell. I really wanted to use language that helped capture a visual, and then also just give you some perspective on why it's so important, whoever wrote this question, to actually take back your time and be in charge of managing and stewarding your time well. Okay, so I'm actually going to walk us through 3 different things that you can think through to combat this and approach it from a different angle. Okay, number 1, let's start with energetic smell. Okay, whether we are aware of it or not, we are giving off like this energetic scent, energetic smell, or like this perfume, right? Classic example. Let's say that you're out shopping and you're walking around and people walk past you. Maybe they just, were in and out and coming from the gym and you catch a whiff of that. maybe they're really put together and they're wearing something amazing. I was grabbing a coffee with one of my dearest friends the other day, and we were just walking into a coffee shop together, and these 2 girls just like turned around and kept looking at us, and we're like, what the heck, that's sort of awkward. And they flipped around and they're like, you guys smell so good. And we were kind of surprised, but we're both people that really are conscious of that, right? And hygiene and all the things. And so then we were sitting outside chatting, and the girls came out and just, had to tell us again how good we smelled, which was just comical at this point. So think about that for you. If you didn't say a word, if your mannerisms weren't speaking for you, if no words were coming out of your mouth, if there was no behavior to pick up on, no patterns to pick up on, if people could just smell your energy or catch your vibe, however you want to say that, what would they be picking up on? Think about that. And what's deeper work, if you were to step outside of yourself and start to dissect your own vibe, what would you jot down? Okay. And so a way to do this, when we talk about energy, there's a lot of things going on, but energy is speaking to your inner life. And are you actually taking care of your inner life? For example, there's no amount of bubble baths that can wipe off the scent of bad energy. Okay, there's no amount of self-help books and practices and things that you're not applying that will change your life and cause you to smell better. Okay, energy has a lot to do with the thoughts that we're thinking, the paradigms that we believe, limited beliefs that we have, sort of like BO in our mind. We could have so much mind drama and so many things running through our mind in a consistent basis that are really affecting our moods and our attitudes and how we feel on a consistent basis, and then how we're actually sending out scent and smell to other people, right? And then how we're behaving. So one of the things that I noticed in this question was the word obligation. I personally was somebody that really had to learn how to recover from people pleasing and from codependency. Okay, so because of that, there was this, false responsibility for taking on the responsibilities of others they didn't take on, whether that was for addiction or workaholism or so many different things. There was this false sense of responsibility to the point that it became super frustrating, right, to break away from that. There were so many things that I felt obligated to do, that I had to do, or else, right, that was actually very difficult to train myself out of. But I eventually got to a place where I didn't want to do things that I was obligated to do, right? Like if I should go do that thing, then I probably am not going to do that thing. I'm going to let my yes be yes and my no be no, and be really clear on my decision making. An example, even just recently, was a step cousin's wedding. Okay, this was her second wedding, and we had a few interactions, and it would have cost around $3K probably to go to this wedding. And, it was right after the pandemic. And so the world is starting to open up. I don't know anything about the wedding or what's going down or any of the details really. And there was only, I believe, 1 month notice to make a decision, right? So it was not feeling good for me. It was not resonating. I felt like I was obligated to go because this is family, right? However, when I started having interactions with my step cousin, I even received a message that I wasn't allowed to bring a +1, which I thought was wild, right? And just more things kept surfacing that were confirming to me that this was not, I had no peace, that this was not something that I should move forward with. I can still celebrate her. I can still thank her for inviting me and thinking of me, and I can still send her a gift, right? But I don't physically have to be there. I'm not obligated to be there, okay? So it's making decisions like that are really, really important, right? Anything that we should or have to do, we usually fight and resent and don't have a good experience. So that can be a way that you manage that. But when I think of obligation, unless it is a job, right, or something that you've already committed to, I don't see how you're obligated to do that thing. And it's really important to start taking back your time and all of the things that you feel like you should or have to do, and really sifting through those and taking some of those off your plate, or really learning how to step up and communicate and set different boundaries in your life so you don't keep having so many things that you're just obligated to do. You can actually do things that you love and that you enjoy and that you want to do, because otherwise it comes across as very inauthentic and we send off really different messages. Okay, so that was like a little tangent, but I hope that's helped somebody. All right, so when you think about your energetic smell, back to that real quick, what is going on in your mind consistently? Are you constantly frustrated? Are you negative? Are you making excuses? What are you thinking about, right? And then where's your mood and attitude a majority of the time? Are you hopeful, but not really? Are you comparing yourself to other people? Are you seeing your life through like a glass half empty, right? Like, where are you at? Think about that. Where's your mood and your attitude? Sometimes we might need an attitude adjustment, right? Then deeper still, what are the things that are going on in your heart? There might be a lot that you're actually processing, but not giving yourself time and space to process. You could be running from things, you could be avoiding things, but you could be dealing with a ton. Okay. I had a therapy session recently, and I think a few weeks or something. I don't know if there was vacations and things in between there, but it was at least 3 weeks since we had connected. And so I literally made a list of all the things that could happen or that happened to update her. And it was wild, like literally a half a page of bullet points of things that happened since we had last connected that were significant things to actually unpack and talk through and work through, right? Whether that's even a good thing, like being able to celebrate some things that happened or be able to work through a decision that was made and where I stand on that now. Just really, really neat things can come up when you actually create that space for yourself to digest and process and work through everything that we're going through, particularly if you're somebody that's doing quite a bit in your life. It's really important to carve out that space to actually process and see how you're thinking and how you're actually doing, and having somebody to mirror back that to you, and having different practices and things that you can do to really be intentional about how you are growing through what you're going through. Okay, so really important to think about the energetic smell that you're giving. Some great ways to do this: pray for a revelation from God of what your paradigms are and how you're currently thinking. I know for me, in different seasons of my life, I wasn't expecting much. And that is not living by faith at all. And that is not a joyful, energetic way to live, right? And then I also really wasn't sharing anything that was going on in my life with people. I wasn't involving people in my life because that was a paradigm or a pattern and a practice from my upbringing, right? There was so much attention that needed to be elsewhere that none of it ever got it directed towards me growing up. So I never talked about anything that I was going through, ever. I didn't share it with people, right? So that was a bad habit, though, when it comes to connection and having really strong relationships in your life. So even noticing that kind of stuff can shift your world. So it's really important to pay attention to that, because sometimes people want to be involved in your life, but you're not even creating space for them to be there, right? And you're not even giving yourself space to be involved in anybody else's life. So really pay attention to these things. So pray for revelation of your paradigms. Another great thing when it comes to energy and really understanding what's going on inside of you, whether it's your thoughts, your attitudes, your moods, what's going on in your hearts, right? Just think about your entire makeup, whatever you're literally working through that maybe you're not talking to people about. Sometimes it's best to journal those things out and just have a daily practice of writing things out. I call these conversations with God, but being able to ask cares to God or release things to God or journal out things that are on my heart or be able to really recognize and perceive things that are happening. Why this is important is because you actually have to be still. You have to really think through and reflect on what you've been walking through. And then you also become more intentional about, okay, and what does that mean now? And what do you really desire now? What do you want to focus on now? And how is God going to help you do that? And what are you being led to do? So that space is really, really important. And so much can be revealed when we're just get still like that. So those are two really great ways to check out your energetic smell. You can also get feedback from other people, right? You can give them this analogy and ask for their feedback about the energy that you're giving off or how they feel when they're around you. That's also revealing sometimes. You know, some people might say, I just feel like you're always busy, right? Is that what you want to portray? Is that how you want to show up in the world? Just consider these things, right? The next piece that I'll give you, number 2, is what I call your carrying capacity. When it comes, consider these things, right? The next piece that I'll give you, number 2, is what I call your carrying capacity. When it comes to you, are you able to really commit to all those things that you say that you're obligated to? How full is your plate for real? Okay, so if you just picture a plate, right, where you go to a buffet and you're able to put all these colorful different things in your plate, you're able to load that sucker up. How full is your plate? Okay, what is your carrying capacity? What do you have room for literally in your life right now? So for example, some seasons in my own life where they were strictly devoted to healing, I did not have a lot of extra time for connecting with community and for pouring into other people. I needed to actually process and do a lot of deep inner work. Now, I did still have community around me, but I was not actively out building community and meeting new people because I needed to reserve as much energy as possible to give myself grace and allow myself space to actually unpack and digest and process and work through a lot of things that I was being graced to walk through in that season. Okay. And so what was helpful in that season too was recognizing that this isn't every season, but I'm going to see this healing through. I'm going to take the lessons and I'm going to heal from this. I'm going to really be led through this process and see it all the way through, just like I would anything else. And that's important because I know on the other side of this, I'll feel so much lighter and free and authentic when I'm not really weighed down by whatever it might be, whether it's, trauma or these faulty paradigms or unhealed parts in your heart, whatever it might be. When you actually go through that process, you don't carry that weight anymore. The burdens are lifted, right? You don't see through the same lens, right? If you've been through trauma, sometimes you can see life through trauma. And if you keep running from it, you keep creating these patterns of trauma in the world. So until you actually pull back, right, and stop running and actually go through a journey, that's how you can actually see how much you do have to give. So what can happen a lot, for example, is folks can keep getting into relationships or keep getting what they have when really they're not even giving themselves anything. So they're giving away this inauthentic image or view of who they are. Okay, and this isn't always intentional, but a lot of times it is subconscious. And it doesn't help us to feel connected and really grow these really fulfilling and this really sweet exchange in relationships, okay? So when you think about your carrying capacity, what do you have the capacity to do? One of the ways that I consistently monitor this is I make sure that I am following my daily 5. Daily 5. So this is not like every once in a while. This is a daily thing, just so that I have my own foundation of checks and balances in my own life, so that I can decide when I need to set a boundary, when I need to communicate, when I need to pivot or shift or, make adjustments. These foundational elements really help me. So it's things like reading the Word of God and having quiet time, working out, eating really great, energizing, life-giving foods, drinking a ton of water, right? Serving, and really being intentional about the energy that I'm putting out in the relationships and the people that I'm connected to, and gratitude, making sure that I'm living from a place of gratitude, knowing that not every day is promised, right? And so often we can just get caught in the bustle and the hustle of all the things, right? So that makes me sure that I have at least bare minimum. When I'm doing these 5 things, like I'm at my bare minimum. Okay, so that lets me know that I can then add things to my capacity, or I need to take some weight off the bar. All right, like if I cannot even do those 5 things every day, I definitely need to take weight off the bar. Like I can't say yes to things right now. I just need some space. And again, however long this is, if it's just a month, if it's a couple months, whatever it is, literally take weight off the bar so that you can build up your capacity just to take care of you again and your basic needs. Think about your needs, right? Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, relational, right? These are all needs that we have, okay? Spiritual. I don't know if I said that one, but it's huge in my book. So when you think about that, how much are you devoting to those areas? Are you flowing in all of those areas, or some of those shut off, right? So think about that. You need to take some things off your calendar if you can't take care of yourself, right? Now, with the things that are currently on your calendar that you're committed to, there might be some communication that needs to happen, some boundaries that need to happen. Maybe you need to pull back some of your time to things, or have a conversation with a boss, let's say, a really authentic conversation with a boss to shift that a little bit, all right? Then when you think about capacity, I always connect this to purpose. What am I purposed to do in this season? Because if I just have all these things on my plate that aren't connected to my purpose, then I could get really distracted and overwhelmed very quickly, okay? And then begin to get frustrated and resent things, which is not the mood and the vibe and the scent that I want to give off, right? So think about that. Is your basic foundation being met? Can you add more weight? And what is the weight that you're actually being led to add? Okay, super important. There's going to be a lot of pressure to be committed to all the things. All right, we live in a FOMO culture. So it's really important that you run this and think about how you can actually time block your time and your schedule. So have blocks of time for each thing. Maybe you don't do each thing every day, but block things out to really have a more accurate assessment of what you actually can commit to, what you have capacity for in this season, and what you don't. Okay, a lot of times just getting it out of your head and putting it onto a schedule that you can see, not just a virtual one, is really, really important. Okay, so number 1, your energetic smell. Number 2, your carrying capacity. And then number 3, I'm calling this something simple: connection. We need connection, and we need healthy connections and really good, solid connections in our life. We need community. And I think of these in different levels. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be team, it could be just community, local community, spiritual community, but we need connection in our lives, particularly for, just people to help you do life with and actually have and enjoy your life with and be able to spend quality time with. It's so important and life-giving when you have the right relationships in your life. So 2 questions with connection. Are the people that you're connected to right now currently bringing any value to you? Think about that. Or are you in one-sided relationships? This is very, very important because you don't want to keep adding one-sided relationships to your life. Now, there are going to be times and seasons where it might feel that way, but that's why it's important to also invest in building relationships and actually care what's going on in somebody else's life, or send them a positive note. Another question, do you just wait for people to come to you and to come support you? Or are you actually giving to other people and caring for other people, even the people that have shown up in your life? Do you let them know how valuable they are, right? Do you get to know them? Do you spend time with them? Do you reach out with them? Do you connect with them? Do you see how they're doing, right? So important to not only give that, but also receive that. So really great example. I used to work with a woman, and she is a first-time mom. She's due next month, right? And being, pregnant for the first time, going through a totally new experience in many ways, I didn't want, personally, I was led to reach out to her and just check in with her and be able to pray for her and just connect with her. So we blocked time to get on the calendar. And then I also participated in a virtual baby shower with her because that was important to me and valuable to me. She is important and valuable to me, right? Even though we connected through a work dynamic, that wasn't, to me, the level of the connection. It was deeper than that. And that's also what I wanted to reassure her and let her know that I'm here, that I'm supporting her, and that I'm praying with her. And that's something that I reached out to do, right? I didn't wait for her to see when she was ready, right? I just wanted to do that. And so I reached out and connected to her and just followed the urge when it happened. So when it comes to connection, follow urges as they happen. There's something beautiful every time that you do that. I also recommend considering ways that you can connect with people and stretch your level of connection. Don't just expect people to come to you, or don't keep building the same kind of relationships maybe where you're just giving. Make sure that you start to diversify your connection. Do you have mentors in your life? Are there coaches, therapists, like an advisory board of people that can help you in your life? Are there family, whether this is blood or not, people that you can actually trust and call in the middle of the night if you had to? Do you have that level and depth of relationship? Are you actually available for that? That can go into capacity a little bit, right? Are you, having friendships with people that you can just celebrate and do fun things with? You only having recovery community, right? It's really important to diversify connection. So that's what I would say too. When you're taking a look at how to manage your time better, consider these three things. 1, consider your energetic scent. 2, consider and weigh your carrying capacity. And then 3, really evaluate the level of connection that you have in your life and the level of connection that you do want. If we keep doing more of the same, we're going to keep of the same. It's really important to recognize that nobody else is going to manage your time for you. This is something that you need to really pull back and be intentional about. And I can tell from this question that this is something that you do actually want to shift and make adjustments on. So my recommendation to the author of the question, and then to everybody watching, is to actually set aside time and work through these 3 areas. Really jot down next steps and practical things that you're going to do to start managing your time better. What are you led to do? Could be prioritize you and make sure that you go first and lay out a new foundation. What are your daily 5? For example, it could be devoting yourself to more quiet time every day so you can start actually figuring out what is going on in you. It could be reaching out for help, right? Or getting recommendations from people around different communities that you can be a part of. There could be many things. My encouragement is for you personally to do this work, journal it out, make lists, and see what you come up with, and then start actually putting these things on the calendar and see how that shifts your energy and your carrying capacity and the level of connection that you have in your life. All right, guys, that's what I got for you today. I hope this message blessed you. If you want to connect, there's a great way to do that. You can go to julianapage.com. I run a mastermind that's incredibly powerful that you may want to be a part of. There's coaching services, books, and many things over there. So go check out julianapage.com. Also note, I have 2 new books coming out this month, so stay tuned. Again, subscribe to my newsletter, which you can do over at julianapage.com. For those. Super exciting, crazy powerful. So I recommend keeping your eyes open for those coming out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. That's the best way to have these messages sent around to the people that need to hear them. It's also important to subscribe because I do these somewhat at random. So the best way to know when a new video is available for you is to subscribe. All right, guys, until next time, stay blessed.